In a quiet corner of the world, far beyond the lands anyone had ever mapped, nestled a kingdom of shimmering snowflakes and gentle winds called the glimmering South. In this magical place lived Plummy, a plump, fluffy little penguin with sapphire eyes, soft gray feathers, and a heart full of dreams. He was smaller than the other penguins and waddled with a tiny hop at the end of each step, which made everyone smile. Plummy lived on a snowy hilltop above the Crescent Bay, where the ocean sparkled like glass and the wind hummed lullabies across the ice. Every morning, he would slide down the hill, giggling as snow dust glittered behind him. And every night, he would gaze at the stars and whisper, "I wonder what else is out there." Though Plummy loved his home and friends, he often felt a quiet pull in his heart, like a song he didn't yet know the words to. It was the kind of feeling that comes when you're meant to find something special. So one morning, after a particularly sparkly snowfall, Plummy packed a satchel with snowberries, a knitted scarf from Mama Penguin, and a tiny compass shaped like a snowflake, a gift from his grandpapa. "I'll be back soon," he said, nuzzling Mama's wing. "I think there's a story waiting for me to find it." And so, Plummy waddled beyond the cliffs and snowdrifts of glimmering South, beginning an adventure that would stretch far beyond his dreams. The first creature he met was Lula, the moon-eared seal, who sang in her sleep and dreamed in shimmering waves. Her flippers were soft as clouds, and her laugh was a gentle chime. "You're seeking the whispering ice," she said dreamily when Plummy told her of the tug in his heart. "It calls only to those who listen with their hearts." "But what is it?" Plummy asked. "No one knows," Lula whispered, floating in a swirl of snow. "Some say it's a secret. Others say it's a story so old it hums through the frost. Follow the wind song, little wanderer." So Plummy did. He climbed ridges where frost feathers tickled his feet. He tiptoed across silver ponds where reflections blinked back at him. At night, he tucked himself under snow lantern trees, whose glowing leaves hummed sleepy tunes. One twilight, Plummy met a curious creature, a white fox with one silver eye and one golden one. Her name was Vesper, and she guarded the wind mirror, a frozen lake said to show you who you truly were. "Look into it only when you're ready," she said softly. "Not to see yourself, but to understand." Plummy blinked at his own face in the ice. He saw not just a small penguin, but all the dreams he'd ever carried, his wish to discover, to share, to glow in someone's memory like the stars above. "I think I'm ready," he whispered. The moment he spoke, the ice beneath him shimmered, and a soft path appeared, glowing like moonlight. "Follow the trail of memory," Vesper said. "It leads to the whispering ice." The trail led Plummy across places untouched by beak or paw, forests of crystal icicles that sang when the breeze danced through them, caves where snowflakes whispered old lullabies as they fell in slow spirals, and clouds so close to the ground, he waddled through mist and starlight. Days passed, and nights folded gently around him. Plummy met the dreamer moths, glowing insects who stitched starlight into dreams. They hovered over him at night, leaving silver threads of hope in his dreams. "You're almost there," they said one evening. "But only if your heart remains open." Then, one snowy dusk, Plummy reached the edge of a cliff unlike any he'd seen before. Below it stretched a vast sheet of blue-tinged ice. It hummed softly, not with a tune, but with a memory. This was it. The whispering ice. As he stepped onto it, the hum grew warmer, deeper. Not louder, but closer. He waddled gently until he reached the center. There, the wind stilled. The stars paused. The world hushed. And then, the ice spoke. Not in words, but in feeling. Plummy saw memories, not his own, but of the world. The first snowfall. The first giggle of a baby seal. A lonely moon watching over sleeping waves. Every joy, every sadness, every wish whispered into snow over the ages. Tears sparkled in Plummy's eyes. The whispering ice didn't tell secrets. It held them. It was a library of feelings, of every creature that had ever loved, wondered, hoped, or felt lost. Plummy lay down on the ice and pressed his cheek against it. "I'll remember you," he whispered. "And I'll tell your stories." That night, the auroras danced just for him, slow, silken ribbons of green and gold. The dreamer moths rested on his feathers, and the stars above blinked a little brighter. When morning came, Plummy turned back home, changed, but still himself. He returned to glimmering south, where Mama hugged him tighter than ever, and his friends gathered around to hear of glowing trails and singing trees and whispering frost. Every night, Plummy would sit on his snowy hilltop and tell a new story, not just made-up tales, but memories passed through the ice. He told them gently, like cradling a snowflake, and the little ones would fall asleep with sparkles in their eyes. And when the stars were especially bright, he'd whisper back to the ice, "I'm still listening." And the wind would hum back, "We know." And Plummy, the brave, soft-hearted penguin who followed a feeling, would smile, knowing he was now part of the world's oldest, quietest lullaby. In the vast ocean of the night sky, there lived a very small star. She was called Twinkle. She wasn't the brightest star. She didn't burn the hottest or sparkle the loudest. But Twinkle had something no other star had, a heart full of curiosity, kindness, and wonder. Every night, while the other stars danced in patterns and constellations, Twinkle would look down at the earth below, dreaming of what it would be like to visit the worlds that lay beneath the clouds. One evening, as a breeze swept through the heavens and the moon yawned into place, Twinkle felt a pull, like a gentle invitation. A shimmer of silver mist curled around her, and a soft voice whispered, "It's time to discover what dreams are made of." And just like that, Twinkle drifted from the sky, floating gently like a feather on the wind, beginning her first magical adventure. Twinkle landed in a quiet meadow, filled with moonflowers that glowed with soft light and hummed lullabies in the breeze. There, she met a creature as soft as a sigh, Willow, the moon rabbit. Willow had long silver ears and fur like mist. She nibbled stardust leaves and painted dreams on lily petals. She looked up and blinked. "A star on the ground?" she asked with wonder. Twinkle twinkled shyly. "I wanted to see the world." Willow smiled. "Then hop aboard. I know the secret trails of dreamers." Together, they followed paths only the moon knew, across flower fields that whispered, through puddles that reflected memories, and into a land of floating stones and sleeping clouds. They arrived at Lullaby Lagoon, where water shimmered in shades of lavender and turquoise. Giant lily pads rocked like hammocks, and turtles sang songs only sleeping children could hear. There, they met Tula, the time turtle. Her shell carried spiral markings that spun slowly, like ancient clocks. "Welcome," she said. "This is where forgotten lullabies drift to rest." Twinkle was curious. "Do they come back?" Tula nodded. "Only when someone remembers to sing." So Twinkle sang, a soft, wobbling tune. Willow harmonized. The lagoon glowed, and tiny music notes floated up into the sky like fireflies. Stars twinkled brighter overhead. And just like that, an old lullaby found its way back to a sleepy child somewhere far away. At the edge of the lagoon stood a cave made of pearl and wind. Inside slept a dragon, curled around a ball of light. Emberlin, the dream dragon, was peaceful and ancient, with wings like velvet night and a breath of cinnamon air. "He guards the dream gate," whispered Willow. "But he only wakes if the dreams are lost." Suddenly, the sky shimmered, and a little dream fizzled out. A child had a nightmare and could no longer find their way back to peaceful sleep. Emberlin stirred. His golden eye opened. Twinkle stepped forward. "Can I help?" The dragon sniffed, then nodded. With Willow's guidance, Twinkle danced in the air, weaving a ribbon of starlight. She spun it into a kite, tied it with dream dust, and let it float into the sky, gently carrying a sleepy giggle to the child. The nightmare melted, and the child smiled in their sleep. The dragon purred and fell back into slumber. The trio ventured into the forest of whispering trees, where every leaf told a story and every branch carried a memory. They met Leora, a windflower who could speak without sound. She showed Twinkle a hidden glen, where children's forgotten wishes rested like feathers. Some were big, I want to fly. Some were small, I wish my cat would come back. Some were silent, never said aloud, but carried in hearts. Twinkle gently floated over them, listening with her light. One feather glowed. Someone wants to feel brave. Twinkle placed her glow upon it, and it rose into the air like a firework, spreading golden light. Somewhere, a nervous child suddenly smiled before trying something new. They climbed a silver hill where the star trail creatures raced across the sky. Shooting stars zoomed and looped, giggling as they flew. Twinkle joined in, zipping through the constellations with joy. She wasn't the fastest, but she glowed the warmest. The other stars laughed with delight. You don't need to win, you just need to shine. Twinkle beamed. Her heart swelled. At the edge of the night, they found a lighthouse made of glass and dreams. Inside, an old owl named Oriander guarded the compass of kindness, a magical compass that pointed not north, but toward people in need. Twinkle gently touched it. The compass spun and pointed to a small, sad spark far away. Someone feels alone, Oriander said softly. Twinkle knew what to do. She glided to that spark, a child curled in bed, missing someone. Twinkle sat above their window, glowing softly. The child opened their eyes, smiled, and whispered, I'm not alone after all. The compass glowed golden. In a sky field, planets spun like a carousel. Twinkle, Willow, and Tula rode Saturn's rings, bounced on Neptune's clouds, and listened to Mercury's music. They met Numi, a stargazer moth with wings like galaxies. Each planet has a lullaby, Numi said. So they listened to Saturn's harp, Venus's hum, Jupiter's thunder lull. Twinkle wove each sound into a necklace of light and wore it proudly. The moon called. The stars blinked. It's time, whispered Willow. Twinkle rose higher and higher, past drifting dreams and sleepy owls, until she nestled into her place in the sky once again. But she wasn't the same. Now she shimmered with the softness of lullabies, the bravery of dreamers, and the warmth of every child she'd helped. From that night on, whenever a child looked up at the stars and saw one glowing just a little warmer than the rest, they knew that Twinkle was watching. That dreams were safe. And that bedtime is always a little more magical than we think. Hello, little dreamers. Tonight, I have a very special story for you. It's full of fluffy clouds, glowing berries, and a very brave little girl named Nora. So snuggle into your blankets. Close your eyes. And let's begin. Once upon a time, in a cozy village where the rooftops wore moss and the wind sang lullabies, lived a little girl named Nora. Nora wasn't like the other children in her village. She had curious eyes, messy freckles, and a wild braid that bounced when she ran. More than anything in the world, she loved adventures. One breezy morning, as Nora stretched and yawned beneath her warm blanket, a soft whisper floated through her open window. Cloudberries, the wind sighed gently. Nora sat up. Cloudberries? She whispered back. But the wind was already gone. Nora knew exactly who to ask. She put on her red scarf and tiptoed through the garden to Grandma Wisp's little cottage. Grandma Wisp had silver hair like a winter cloud, and eyes that sparkled like candle flames. Grandma, Nora asked, have you ever heard of cloudberries? Grandma Wisp smiled and stirred her tea. Ah yes, she said. The cloudberries of the sky field, magical fruit that grows only above the clouds, in a meadow no one can see. Nora's eyes grew wide. Can I go there? Grandma nodded slowly. Only if your heart is kind, your feet are brave, and your ears can hear the whispers of the wind. Then she opened a dusty drawer and handed Nora a silver compass. This compass, she said, won't point north. It points to your truest adventure. With the compass in her pocket and a muffin in her backpack, Nora set off. The needle spun and then pointed to the misty woods. At the edge of the forest, a little blue bird fluttered down from a tree. Going to the sky field, the bird chirped. I am, said Nora. Then you must pass 3 gentle trials, the bird said. First, find the feather of truth. Then, solve the riddle of the river. And finally, bring laughter to the lost. Nora nodded. I'll try. Follow me, the bird whistled, and off they went. In the heart of the woods, Nora found a glowing clearing. A grand peacock stood in the middle, his feathers shimmering like rainbows. I am Prism, he announced. Keeper of the feather of truth. To earn it, he said, you must be honest, even when it's hard. Just then, a small bunny appeared. Did you step on my flower bed this morning? It asked shyly. Nora's cheeks turned pink. Yes. I did, she said. I'm really sorry. The bunny blinked, then smiled. Thank you for telling the truth. The peacock flared its tail and plucked a shining feather. You may take this, Nora, said Prism. You have passed. Nora tucked the feather gently into her braid. Soon, she reached a silver river that sparkled in the sun. On a small bridge sat a sleepy turtle, its shell covered in moss. To cross, the turtle said, you must answer this riddle. What has no legs but runs? Has a bed but never sleeps? Has a mouth but never speaks? Nora sat on a rock, thinking. She listened to the river babble and swirl. Suddenly, she smiled. A river, she said. The turtle slowly smiled and moved aside. Wise and gentle. You may pass. Beyond the bridge, Nora entered a quiet forest. Too quiet. There, beneath a drooping tree, sat 3 shadowy figures. Their eyes were wide and sad. We are lost, one whispered. We forgot how to laugh. Nora thought hard. Then she pulled the muffin from her backpack and stuck it on her head like a silly hat. She began to dance and sing, muffin on my noodle, it makes my brain giggle. If I sneeze too hard, it might do a wiggle. The shadowy figures blinked. Then one giggled. Then another chuckled. Then they all burst into laughter. You brought joy back to us, they said. Now the sky field will open for you. Suddenly, a staircase made of sunlight appeared in the air, leading up into the clouds. Step by step, Nora climbed higher and higher, above the trees, above the mountains, until she reached the sky field. It was more beautiful than she ever imagined. Clouds shaped like puppies and kittens drifted across the sky, and bushes of glowing golden berries shimmered in the breeze. Just then, a sleek silver fox appeared. I am the wind fox, he said. Guardian of the sky field. Why do you seek the cloudberries? Nora took a breath. Because I heard their whisper, and I wanted to see something truly magical. The wind fox gazed into her heart, then nodded. You may pick one. Nora walked gently into the meadow and picked a single golden cloudberry. It buzzed with warm light in her hand. What does it do? She asked. It grants a wish, said the wind fox. But only if the wish is for someone else. Nora thought of Grandma Wisp, sitting by the fire with her stories. She smiled. I wish Grandma has stories that never run out. The cloudberry sparkled, then vanished into golden light. That, said the wind fox, was a beautiful wish. He placed a silver leaf in Nora's hand. If you ever hear the wind whisper your name again, you may return. When Nora climbed back down to her village, she ran straight to Grandma Wisp. Grandma was waiting with a teacup and a notebook filled with stories. The cloudberries gave me new tales, she said with a twinkle in her eye. All because of you. Nora curled up in her favorite blanket, her heart warm and full. Outside, the wind danced through the trees and whispered, "Thank you, brave heart." And so, Nora's magical adventure came to an end. But the wind still whispers, and the sky still hides secret fields. So maybe, just maybe, one day, you'll hear it call your name too. Good night, little one. Sleep well. And dream big. Subscribe for more bedtime stories. Once upon a time, in a quiet corner of the world where clouds drifted low and the stars whispered lullabies, there lived a unicorn named Lyria. She wasn't like the unicorns in stories who raced through lightning or roared like thunder. No, Lyria was soft. She was quiet. She glowed faintly like morning dew touched by sunlight. Lyria lived in a floating meadow called Moonpetal Glen, where the flowers opened only at night and the trees hummed old lullabies. Her mane shimmered with shades of pale lavender and pearl, and her horn curved like a crescent moon. But what made her most special wasn't anything you could see, it was the way she made everyone around her feel calm, just by being near. Lyria often wandered the soft grass barefoot, well, hoof-free, and listened to the breeze telling stories through the leaves. She loved watching the fireflies blink in secret codes and the stars blink back, as if they were all friends. But sometimes, Lyria felt a little different. You see, she didn't gallop fast like the other unicorns. She didn't shoot rainbows from her horn or sparkle so brightly that everyone gasped. She was just soft. And quiet. And slow. Maybe I'm not magical enough, she thought one night, her silver tail curled around her like a blanket. Maybe I'm too quiet to matter. A breeze rustled the sleeping petals of a moonflower nearby. That night, Lyria couldn't sleep. She tiptoed across the glowing moss to visit the wisest creature in the glen, an owl named Orlo, who lived in a tree that grew upside down, its roots curled into stars. Orlo blinked once. Slowly. You're up late, Lyria. I had a feeling in my heart, she whispered, like I'm not glowing the right way. Orlo hooted gently. You're glowing just as you should. Sometimes the softest light reaches the deepest places. Lyria blinked. But no one really sees it. They will, said Orlo. The forest listens even when it says nothing. And your light? It's listening too. Still, Lyria wasn't sure. So she set out the next morning before sunrise to find her glow, the real one, the one that would make her feel magical. She trotted softly across the glimmering hills and into the Cloudvale woods. Everything here was wrapped in mist and moonlight. The trees stretched tall like dancers, and the dew sang like tiny bells. Soon, she met a squirrel with fur like silver frost. Why are you walking alone? He asked, tilting his head. I'm searching for my glow, Lyria replied. The one everyone notices. The squirrel scurried up a branch. You're glowing right now. No, that's just the moonlight. But why would the moonlight follow you? Lyria didn't have an answer. She continued on, her hooves padding gently across moss that glowed under her step. Further into the woods, she found a small stream where a fawn was drinking. Hello, Lyria said quietly. The fawn looked up with big, gentle eyes. You walk like the wind. Is that good? Lyria asked. It made the water sing, said the fawn. I like it when things sing. Lyria smiled, but still she felt unsure. She wanted something bigger. Something brighter. That night, she curled beside a glowing mushroom and dreamed. In her dream, she stood in the middle of a dark forest, surrounded by animals who couldn't find their way. She tried to call out, but her voice was a whisper. Then, something inside her chest began to shine, not flashy or loud, but steady and warm. The animals looked up. One by one, they gathered around her soft light. No one said anything. But no one needed to. She woke with a flutter in her heart. Could it be true? The next morning, she found a baby dragon curled in a nest of leaves. Its wing was bent. It was crying softly. Without thinking, Lyria lowered her head and nuzzled the dragon gently. She sang a lullaby her mother once sang to her, something about stars and feathers and safe places. The dragon blinked and relaxed, breathing slower. Then something amazing happened. Lyria's horn began to glow, not like a firework, not like the other unicorns, but like the rising sun behind a soft cloud. Warm. Kind. Unstoppable. The dragon smiled in its sleep. Later that day, as she walked back toward Moonpetal Glen, animals joined her. The fawn. The squirrel. Even a tiny turtle who took a long time to catch up. They didn't ask for anything. They just wanted to walk near her. They felt safe. Back home, Orlo was waiting. "You found it," he said simply. "I think it was always with me," Lyria said. Orlo nodded slowly. The light within is often quietest. But it's what keeps the stars awake. From that day on, Lyria didn't try to shine like the others. She shone like herself. She still walked softly, still listened more than she spoke. But when someone was afraid or lonely or couldn't sleep, they always found their way to Lyria. And she always had room beside her. Some say that if you lie very still at night, you might feel a breeze like a lullaby and a warmth on your cheek that wasn't there before. That's just Lyria. Passing by. Letting you know you're glowing too. Good night, little one. Once upon a quiet evening, in a village hugged by whispering woods and dandelion fields, there lived a little girl named Mira. She was the kind of child who always noticed the smallest things, like a shy sunflower turning toward the light, or a tired ant dragging a crumb twice its size. Mira was only 6 years old, but in her heart, she carried more kindness than most grown-ups ever dream of. She lived with her grandmother in a small, cozy cottage made of crooked wood and soft stone. Their house smelled like honey and warm books. The walls were lined with shelves of old jars filled with dried flowers, cinnamon sticks, and glowing pebbles that shimmered faintly when the moon was out. Every night before bed, Mira would sit on the windowsill and talk to the stars. Not in big, grown-up words, but in soft whispers only the stars could hear. And every night, they listened. One evening, something unusual happened. As Mira tucked herself under her quilt and kissed her grandmother goodnight, a soft wind swept through the room, even though the windows were closed. The candles flickered. A single feather, silver and glowing, floated down from the ceiling and landed on her pillow. Mira blinked. Then the room went still. And just as her eyes closed, she heard a voice, not loud, not scary, but soft like clouds. "Mira, it's time. The Dream Keeper has chosen you." When she opened her eyes again, she wasn't in her room anymore. She stood in a meadow made of starlight. The grass was soft and glowing blue. Giant dream bubbles floated through the air, showing scenes of sleeping children around the world, some cuddled with teddy bears, others wrapped in warm blankets, and one with a sleepy kitten curled on their chest. And standing there, tall, graceful, wrapped in moonlight, was the Dream Keeper. The Dream Keeper was not a man or a woman, not young or old. They were both everything and nothing, made of wind and memory, their voice like the sound of a lullaby carried by the breeze. "Welcome, Mira," they said, with a smile as kind as the sun. You've been chosen because your heart sees what others miss. And now, you will learn to walk between dreams. You will help sleeping hearts grow softer, braver, kinder. Mira took a breath. She wasn't scared. Somehow, she felt like she had always belonged here. Will I get wings? She asked. The dream keeper chuckled. Something even better, you'll have a lantern of kindness. It will glow brighter each time you help a dream come true. From their hands, they offered her a small lantern. It looked ordinary at first, but then Mira saw it had no flame. Instead, it held a single drop of golden light that shimmered with the laughter of children. Ready? The dream keeper asked. Mira nodded. And so began her journey. Every night, Mira would slip into the dream realm, her lantern lighting the way. She floated through dream bubbles like a silent wind, peeking gently into the hearts of sleeping children. In one dream, a boy was lost in a forest of shadows. He wasn't crying, just sitting very still, as if he'd forgotten how to move. Mira sat beside him and gave him her hand. The moment their fingers touched, the forest changed. The shadows turned into tall sunflowers with smiling faces, and the boy laughed in his sleep. In another dream, a girl was trying to build a castle out of marshmallows, but every time she got close to finishing, it collapsed. She looked like she wanted to give up. Mira helped hold one side steady. Together, they built the tallest marshmallow tower anyone had ever seen. When the girl woke up, she remembered a strange dream and told her mother, "I think I can do hard things now." That night, Mira's lantern glowed a little brighter. Each dream was different. Some were silly, like the one where she danced with penguins on the moon. Some were quiet, like when she held a baby fox in her lap while stars hummed above. And some were full of soft sadness. There was one dream she remembered most. A boy named Leo who dreamed he was invisible. In his dream, people walked past him, never noticing, never listening. Mira sat beside him and told him stories until he smiled. She sang him a lullaby until he believed he mattered. When he woke up, he hugged his little sister for the first time in weeks. And in the dream realm, Mira's lantern grew so bright it painted golden streaks across the sky. But being a dream keeper wasn't always easy. Some nights, Mira grew tired. Some dreams were too big to fix in one night. And sometimes, she missed her grandmother's arms and the scent of cinnamon books. One such night, she sat alone on a cloud shaped like a teacup, looking down at the world of dreams below. The dream keeper appeared beside her. "You're doing wonderfully," they said. "But some children still cry in their sleep," Mira whispered. "Some dreams stay broken." The dream keeper nodded. Kindness doesn't always fix everything right away. But it always leaves a light behind. Even a tiny spark can help someone find their way again. They paused. "Would you like to see how you've helped?" Mira nodded. The dream keeper waved a hand, and a soft glowing thread appeared before them. Then another. Then hundreds, thousands, glimmering threads of gold, like a sky full of lightning bugs. Each one, the dream keeper explained, is a dream you've touched. A kindness you've given. A moment you made someone feel seen, loved, safe. Mira's eyes filled with happy tears. She didn't feel tired anymore. She felt like the stars had tucked her in. And so the story goes on. Night after night, Mira kept floating into dreams. She helped a boy learn to forgive a friend. She showed a girl how to turn fear into a balloon and let it fly away. She taught a grumpy pirate how to laugh again. She wrapped sad memories in flower petals and let the wind carry them to the sea. She whispered bravery into the ears of children hiding under imaginary monsters. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, glowed in her lantern. And every child she helped woke up a little softer, a little braver, a little kinder. Mira never asked for thanks. She never wanted fame. She just wanted every child to feel loved. One night, back in the real world, her grandmother asked, "Have you been dreaming about stars again?" Mira smiled and nodded. "They told me we all have a lantern," she whispered. "We just have to fill it with kindness. Even in our sleep." Her grandmother kissed her forehead. "Then your lantern must be the brightest of all." And in the sky above them, for just a moment, a new star shimmered, soft and golden. And it whispered, "Good night, Mira. Good night, little hearts. Keep dreaming kindly." Hello, sweet one. Are you tucked in warm and cozy? Close your eyes now. Take a deep breath in and out. Let the day melt away. Tonight, I'm going to take you somewhere special. A place where dreams grow quietly, like flowers in the moonlight. It's a secret place, hidden from the noise of the world. And it's waiting just for you. Far beyond the sleepy towns and the glowing stars, there is a peaceful forest where the air is always soft, and the wind hums like a lullaby. At the center of this forest, standing tall and gentle, is a magical tree. Not just any tree. It's called the Star Whisper Tree. Its trunk glows with silvery light, and its branches stretch wide, like open arms ready to give you a hug. Every night, as the moon rises, its leaves begin to shimmer, not green, but soft like silver, and they tinkle faintly like tiny bells when the wind kisses them. This tree holds the dreams of every sleepy child. And tonight, it holds yours. Come closer now. Let's walk together through the soft meadow. Your footsteps make no sound, only gentle pats. A little rabbit hops alongside you. She twitches her nose, then bounds off to curl under a dandelion puff. You follow a glowing path lined with fireflies. Each one blinks slowly, like the stars coming down to play. Look, there's a fox cub, yawning beneath a fern. His tail is wrapped around his nose, and he's already dreaming of running across the clouds. High above, in a tree, a wise old owl blinks slowly at you, then closes his eyes again. You're welcome here. Everyone is. The Star Whisper Tree waits ahead, its roots curled into soft beds. And in one of those beds, you see a baby bear. She's curled into a ball, breathing deeply in her sleep. You lie down beside her, and she doesn't stir, because she knows you're kind. Around you, more animals begin to arrive. A hedgehog nestles into a pile of leaves. A family of ducks snuggles into the grass nearby, their heads tucked gently under their wings. And then, a soft chime. The Star Whisper Tree has begun its lullaby. It hums through the ground and into your toes. It tickles your fingers. It rests gently on your chest. And the words float quietly through the air. You are safe. You are loved. You can rest. A glowing thread of light drifts down from the leaf. It floats, slowly, slowly, and lands right on your shoulder. It's your dream. Yours alone. Close your eyes now, even tighter. Let's follow your dream. Suddenly, you're floating, not falling, just gliding gently through the air. The stars wave to you as you pass, and the moon smiles her softest smile. Below you, the forest becomes a map of sparkling lights. You see rivers like ribbons, mountains that shimmer, and valleys full of soft, glowing mist. A glowing dolphin leaps beside you in the sky, and a cloud lion roars very softly, because even he knows it's bedtime. You land gently on a fluffy cloud, and there you find a squirrel playing a tiny lullaby on a flute made of reeds. He nods to you, then plays even softer so you can drift off. A pair of raccoons share a berry pie under a tree made of stars. They offer you a piece, but you're too sleepy now. You just smile and curl up next to them. The dream deepens. You're wrapped in a blanket of light. Soft petals fall from trees above you, each one whispering a word of peace: hush, rest, sleep, dream. The animals cuddle closer. The moon lowers herself down and becomes a soft lantern in the tree. The star whisper tree smiles in silence. All around, hearts beat slowly, breathes deepen, dreams bloom like starlight. You are safe. You are loved. You are home. So drift now into the softest sleep. Let the dreams carry you where you need to go, to flying turtles, to candy waterfalls, to quiet places where giggles grow like flowers and hugs fall from the sky like rain. And when the morning comes, the star whisper tree will remember your dream. It will keep it safe for you until night returns again. Good night, little one. Sleep tight. The forest loves you. The stars sing for you. And the star whisper tree is always waiting, just beyond the clouds. Shoo. Close your eyes and drift. In a quiet valley tucked between forgotten mountains, where the sky shimmered in pale purples and soft blues, there lived a dragon named Emberlin. But Emberlin was not like the dragons of old songs. He did not roar. He did not fly through thunderstorms or guard golden treasures. No, Emberlin was soft. His scales shimmered like moonlight through morning mist, and his breath, instead of fire, glowed like warm candlelight. He lived in a cave made of crystal and moss, where fireflies drifted like dreams, and the wind always carried stories. And he waited for something, but he didn't know what. Every evening, as the stars began to blink awake, Emberlin would walk to the edge of his mountain. There, he would sit and watch the lights in the villages far below, little orange dots that flickered like he did. He wondered if they knew he was watching. He wondered if they knew he existed at all. And sometimes, when the moon was especially kind, he would whisper his name into the wind and hope someone whispered it back. But no one ever did. So, Emberlin began to wonder if he was made of something too quiet for the world to hear. One night, as Emberlin curled beside his cave's warmest stone, a soft voice touched his ear. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even a word. It was a flutter. A hush. A heartbeat of the air. And then, a firefly landed on his nose. He blinked. The firefly blinked. And then it flew forward, glowing brighter than before. More followed. A whole stream of tiny, twinkling lights, dancing and swirling like stardust in a breeze. They didn't speak. They simply led. And Emberlin stood. And followed. The fireflies led Emberlin along a path he'd never seen. It curved past sleeping trees and over stones that hummed softly as he stepped. And though he was large and ancient and made of dragon bone and heart, Emberlin felt small. The sky above seemed deeper than ever. Stars blinked like secrets. A crescent moon hung low, watching. And the further Emberlin walked, the warmer his chest began to feel. Not hot like fire, but warm like hope. The path ended at a pond so still, it mirrored the stars perfectly. Emberlin leaned over and stared. He saw himself. But something was different. In the water, his glow was brighter. His eyes were softer. And around him, in the reflection only, were animals he had never met. A bear curled beneath a tree. A fox dozing on a rock. A turtle resting on a lily pad. They were not afraid of him. They didn't hide. They simply slept, peacefully, near him. As if his glow was a comfort. As if he belonged. A breeze stirred. From above, something floated down, soft and white and delicate. A feather. But not from a bird. It glowed faintly. It hummed. And when it landed on Emberlin's nose, he felt it. A message. Not words, but a knowing. A call. Something waited above. Not on the mountain. Not in the pond. But in the sky. Emberlin blinked slowly. And for the first time in many years, he opened his wings. Emberlin's wings had not been used in a long time. They creaked like old trees and shimmered like sleepy silver clouds. He stretched them carefully. A breeze caught beneath them. He flapped once. Twice. And the earth sighed. Dust rose around his feet. And then, so gently he barely noticed, he rose. The pond grew smaller. The trees shrank. And the stars grew closer. He was flying. Quietly. Softly. But surely. Flying towards something he did not yet understand, but fully trusted. Above the world where most never go, Emberlin found a place made entirely of clouds. But these weren't the clouds of storm and thunder. They were gentle. Shaped like pillows, and glowing faintly with color, pink, blue, lavender, gold. And nestled between them were flowers made of mist and memory. He landed softly. Each step sank like snow. The flowers did not wilt beneath him. Instead, they opened, as if recognizing a very old friend. And in the center of the garden, resting on a throne of moonbeams, was a dragon. Old. Glowing. And smiling. The old dragon's name was Lysander. He had not spoken aloud in many years. But when Emberlin arrived, Lysander bowed his head gently and spoke into his heart. You heard the call. Emberlin nodded. Lysander smiled again. For generations, we've waited. Not for strength. Not for fire. But for gentleness that glows from within. He motioned to the sky. The stars are not suns. Not all of them. Some are dragons. Dragons who let go of the earth to light the skies. Emberlin's eyes widened. You are ready, Emberlin. But, what if I'm afraid? Lysander placed his nose gently against Emberlin's. Then carry your fear with wonder. It makes your light real. Lysander led Emberlin to the edge of the cloud garden. Below them, the world spun quietly, blue rivers, golden fields, tiny flickers of towns. Above, the stars shimmered like open arms. Emberlin breathed deeply. And from within him, a soft golden light began to grow. It spread from his heart to his wings, to his tail, to the tips of his horns. He looked like a falling star that hadn't fallen yet. And then he lifted off the cloud. Higher and higher. Until his body began to dissolve into light. Not vanish, transform. Into warmth. Into a star. Back on the ground, a small child looked up from their window. A new star had appeared. One that shimmered a little differently. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. And every time it did, the child felt safe. Loved. Known. They didn't know why. But they whispered, "Thank you." And somewhere in the sky, that star shimmered just a little brighter. Sometimes, when the wind is very quiet and the sky very clear, you can hear a whisper among the stars. Not a word, but a feeling. A warmth. As if someone, somewhere, is watching over you. Not to guard gold. Not to roar. But simply to be. To glow. To remind you that you are never too quiet to be seen. Never too soft to be strong. And that even the gentlest ember can light the night forever. In a quiet forest nestled between whispering hills and a silver-blue river, there lived a small owl named Luna. Luna wasn't like the other owls in her tree. While the others were serious and focused on hunting, Luna spent her nights gazing up at the sky. She loved the night not because it was dark, but because it sparkled. She would sit on her favorite curved branch, the one that looked like a smile, and whisper, "Good evening, stars. Do you have a story for me tonight?" The stars twinkled in response. Luna liked to think they were winking back at her, like old friends. She had a curious heart and a calm soul. Sometimes, she'd stay so still under the stars that even fireflies would land on her feathers, thinking she was part of the forest. One special night, just as the sky turned a rich midnight blue, something unusual happened. Luna looked up and gasped softly. The moon was smiling. It wasn't just a curve of light. It was a warm, kind, glowing smile, like the kind your mother gives you when she tucks you in. "Moon?" Luna asked gently. "Why are you smiling tonight?" To her surprise, the moon replied in a soft, musical voice. "Because tonight, I am weaving a blanket of stars to wrap the world in dreams." "A blanket of stars?" Luna echoed, wide-eyed. "Yes. Every kind act, every loving moment, becomes a thread of light. And with those threads, we weave the blanket that helps the world sleep peacefully." Luna blinked in awe. "Can I help?" The moon beamed even brighter. "Of course, little owl. I was hoping you'd ask." And so, Luna set off into the night, wings silent, heart glowing. She didn't need to fly far, kindness was everywhere. She glided over the meadow where two little raccoons shared a piece of fruit, giggling softly. She hovered near a family of foxes. One baby fox gave its last berry to its smaller sibling and gently tucked its tail around them both. Each moment sparkled faintly in the air, as if kindness had its own glow. The light drifted upward in the form of tiny threads, soft and shimmery, like spider silk woven from starlight. Luna gently gathered each thread with her feathers and placed it in a little pouch made of cloud fluff the moon had gifted her. Deeper into the forest Luna flew, careful not to wake the sleeping animals below. She passed a deer who had laid her fawn in a nest of moss, humming a lullaby only forest mothers knew. A squirrel curled around a tiny seed as if it were treasure. A turtle rested on a lily pad, dreaming slowly. Each dream, each cuddle, each soft breath created another glowing thread. Luna whispered, "Thank you," every time she gathered one. She floated gently above the lake, where stars reflected like tiny lanterns. A family of ducks nestled in the reeds, heads tucked beneath their wings. One by one, she collected all these star threads, quiet moments, kind gestures, peaceful dreams, and her pouch began to glow. When her pouch was full, Luna soared back up to the moon. "Here they are," she whispered. The moon opened a giant silver loom across the sky. It was made of moonbeams and echoes of lullabies. Together, they began to weave. The moon guided the threads like a weaver's fingers, and Luna helped place each one just right. They created patterns, swirls of hope, zigzags of laughter, and soft spots of comfort that pulsed gently like a sleeping heart. As the threads became stars, they blinked into the sky one by one. The sky glowed brighter with peace, not light. It was the kind of brightness that made you feel safe and warm, even if you were just a small owl in a big, big world. The moon turned to Luna. "Would you like to see how the blanket helps?" Luna nodded. They looked down, and the forest shimmered under the blanket's gentle glow. A little mouse stopped tossing and turning and snuggled into its leaf bed. A grumpy badger, known for never sleeping well, let out a deep sigh and began to snore. Even the wind, which was always rustling and wandering, slowed down and curled into a breeze. The world was resting. "You've done so well," the moon whispered. Luna blushed, though it's hard to tell when an owl blushes. "Can I do this again tomorrow?" she asked. The moon chuckled, a sound like wind chimes and soft clouds. "Every night the world needs rest, and every night it needs a little help. You're always welcome to return." Then, from the moon's glow, something floated down, a single feather, made of light and lullabies. "Keep this," the moon said. "It's a piece of tonight's magic." Luna tucked the glowing feather under her wing, feeling its warmth pulse gently like a tiny heartbeat. She flew home just before dawn. Her nest, high in a tall tree, felt cozier than ever. She placed the moon feather beside her and curled up in a circle, her fluffy wings wrapped around her like her own little blanket. The stars blinked down at her. "Thank you, Luna," they whispered. The moon, still smiling, winked once before dipping below the horizon. And just before Luna drifted into her own dreams, she whispered back, "Good night, world. Sleep well under your blanket of stars." Some say if you look very closely on quiet nights, you'll see a small silver owl flying across the sky, collecting dreams, cuddles, and giggles. If you happen to be kind before bed, maybe by helping a sibling, hugging your parent, or sharing your favorite toy, you might just see your good deed float up and become part of the blanket. And maybe, just maybe, Luna will find it. In a quiet valley where the clouds slept low and the breeze always smelled like honey and pine, there was a soft green meadow tucked between two rolling hills. It was the kind of place most people never found, not because it was far away, but because it could only be seen by those who believed in quiet wonders. In this secret meadow lived a tiny mouse named Milo. Milo had soft silver fur, the color of moonlight on water, and kind eyes that always seemed to be searching for something, though even he wasn't sure what. While the other animals snuggled into their burrows and nests as soon as the sun went down, Milo would stretch his tiny paws, fluff his tail, and wander outside. You see, Milo loved the nighttime. He loved the way the grass whispered when the wind passed through. He loved how the stars peeked out, one by one, like shy fireflies. And most of all, he loved the feeling that the night held secrets, gentle, twinkling secrets just waiting to be discovered. One evening, just after the sky had turned a deep shade of purple and the moon hung like a lantern above the hills, Milo noticed something strange. Right in the center of the meadow, where there had never been anything but grass and dew, there was a single flower. It wasn't like any flower Milo had ever seen. It stood tall and graceful, its petals curled like sleepy fingers opening slowly. They shimmered pale white, glowing softly as if kissed by stardust. A delicate scent drifted through the air, like vanilla and warm milk, and something else Milo couldn't quite name, something magical. He crept closer, his little nose twitching. The flower didn't seem to mind. In fact, the closer he got, the warmer he felt, like being wrapped in a cozy blanket on a chilly evening. Suddenly, from the branches of an old twisted oak nearby, a familiar voice called out. "It's a moonflower," hooted Luma, the wise old owl who lived in the tallest tree. Milo looked up. "A moonflower?" he whispered. "Yes," said Luma, fluttering down to a low branch. "They bloom only at night. Only when the air is soft, and the world is quiet enough to listen." Milo's ears perked up. "Listen? To what?" "To the moonflower's song," said Luma, blinking slowly. "But you must sit very still. Breathe gently. And most important of all, listen not with your ears, but with your heart." Milo sat down beside the moonflower. The meadow was so quiet now, he could hear the flutter of Luma's feathers, the whisper of distant crickets, and even the soft drip of dew gathering on a leaf. He took a deep breath. In and out. Again. In and out. His heartbeat slowed. His tail curled neatly beside him. And he waited. And then, so faintly at first that he wasn't sure it was real, the moonflower began to hum. It wasn't a song with words. It was a sound that felt like sunlight on your back. Like warm tea in your belly. Like being held close by someone who loves you just the way you are. It wrapped around Milo like a lullaby. Not loud. Not grand. Just gentle. And as he listened, his eyes began to grow heavier. His thoughts quieted. His body melted into the soft grass like a leaf floating on a pond. Then, as if it had been waiting for just the right moment, the moonflower spoke, not out loud, but in a way that echoed gently inside his heart. You are safe now, little one. You are enough. You are loved, just as you are. Milo smiled, his whiskers twitching with joy. He curled into a tiny ball, the moonflower's glow lighting his fur. All around him, the meadow shimmered. Fireflies danced like stars on the earth. The wind carried lullabies only dreamers could hear. That night, Milo dreamed of flying with owls, dancing with stars, and walking on moonbeams. And though the dream faded when he awoke, the feeling stayed with him, the warmth, the calm, the knowing. From then on, whenever Milo felt unsure or scared or too small for the world, he would return to the moonflower. He would sit quietly, breathe slowly, and remember the secret. The secret the moonflower told him when the world was still: you are exactly where you are meant to be. And maybe, just maybe, if you sit very still tonight and breathe gently, you might hear the moonflower too. Because the night has many secrets. But the kindest one of all is this: you are already loved. And you are never alone. Now close your eyes, breathe gently, and dream softly. Once upon a quiet time, when the moon was just beginning to rise and the stars were peeking out from behind the clouds, in a forest far away and soft with moss and murmurs, lived a very small fox named Finn. Finn was not like the other foxes. He wasn't quick or clever or loud. He liked slow walks, warm blankets, and soft songs sung by the wind. Every night, while the world grew still and the sky turned sleepy, Finn would curl up by a tree stump just outside his den and listen. Because in this forest, when the stars came out and the leaves stopped rustling, the trees whispered. They whispered old stories, lullabies carried on breezes, and sometimes, dreams. Finn padded softly over the moss, his tiny paws making barely a sound. The sun had dipped behind the hills, casting golden shadows through the tall trees. The air was cool and smelled like pine and petals. A tiny bell chimed in the distance, not from a house or a clock, but from a sleepy bluebird who jingled when he flew. His feathers were tinted with twilight, and his song sounded like yawns wrapped in notes. Good evening, Finn, the bird said with a stretch. The dreaming hour is almost here. Finn smiled with his eyes. I know. I'm going to find a new story tonight. Be careful not to stay out too late, chirped the bluebird. The forest gets very quiet when it dreams. I like it that way, said Finn, and he padded on. As Finn wandered deeper into the woods, fireflies lit the path like floating lanterns. One buzzed beside his ear and whispered, "The dream tree is blooming tonight." Finn's ears perked up. The dream tree was a very old tree, hidden deep where only the softest paws and kindest hearts could go. It bloomed not with flowers, but with dreams, soft, shimmering petals that opened to show tiny scenes, little worlds made of wonder. Finn had only heard stories. But tonight, maybe he'd see it. As he walked, he passed sleepy friends, a hedgehog named Tula, who was already snoring softly under a patch of clover. An owl who blinked one eye, then the other, then both, and nodded off again. A snail wearing a cozy knitted hat, who waved slowly and whispered, "May the dreams find you." Finn wished them good night and tiptoed quietly so their dreams wouldn't spill. He climbed a little hill, then another, and came to a clearing filled with soft blue mist. The stars above twinkled like lullabies, and the wind hummed a tune that even the clouds paused to listen to. In the center stood the dream tree. It was silver, though not like metal, more like moonlight caught in bark. Its branches stretched wide, but not heavy, they drifted, like they were dreaming, too. And from its limbs hummed the dreams. Some looked like tiny bubbles. others like folded flowers. One looked like a paper boat floating in midair. Finn sat beneath it, quiet as a whisper. A petal unfolded near his nose. Inside, he saw himself, flying. He blinked. Suddenly, he wasn't under the tree anymore. He was soaring, floating through the clouds on a soft feathered breeze, his paws tucked under him like a sleepy bird. He passed floating sheep made of marshmallow clouds. He waved at a sleepy moon who tipped his hat. And just ahead, a bridge made of starlight stretched toward a little door in the sky. He padded across. Inside was a room full of yawns. They floated in bubbles, waiting for someone to catch them. Finn giggled softly. A big yawn popped, and he caught it. His eyes grew heavy. As he drifted, a group of rabbits in pajamas hopped past on clouds, one carrying a music box, another holding a cup of warm milk made of moonlight. They offered Finn a blanket stitched from the sky. "You'll want this for the dream's end," they whispered, snuggling beside him. Together, they floated through more dream scenes, a sleepy lion singing lullabies to butterflies, a turtle reading bedtime stories beneath a waterfall, a squirrel gently brushing a rainbow to sleep, each scene quieter than the last. Finn's eyes closed. Just a little. A breeze, as soft as a sigh, carried Finn back through the sky. The dream folded like a petal, and he was once again beneath the dream tree. Only now, it was gently snowing soft silver leaves. The forest was silent. Not empty, just still. Finn curled up in the moss, under one of the dreaming branches. And the tree, softly, wrapped a branch around him like a hug. The last thing he heard was a whisper, "Little dreamer, sleep now. The forest is watching over you." And Finn did. He dreamed of soft clouds, glowing moons, and laughter that sounded like leaves. Once upon a time, in a sky painted with the softest shade of twilight blue, there lived a little moon named Moreau. He wasn't the biggest or the brightest moon in the universe, but he was the gentlest and the kindest. Every night, he floated high above the world, watching over children as they slept peacefully in their beds. But tonight was different. As the stars began to blink open like tiny night lights in the sky, Moreau felt a little restless. He sighed a slow, silvery sigh and said quietly, "I wonder what it's like to visit the lands below." The stars, always curious and whispery, twinkled in chorus, "Go on, little moon. We'll light your way." And with that, Moreau began to drift lower, 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 until he was just above the tallest trees in a quiet forest called Whistlewood. In Whistlewood, every sound was soft and musical. The leaves rustled like lullabies. The breeze hummed like sleepy songs. And even the squirrels tiptoed, as if not to wake the dreams hiding in the treetops. Moreau floated gently above a clearing, where he saw a tiny fawn named Philia yawning under a star-shaped blanket made of moss and feathers. "Hello, moon," said Philia in a dreamy voice. "Are you here to sing us to sleep?" Moreau blushed with moonlight. "I don't know how to sing," he whispered. "But I can listen." And so, Philia began to tell him stories, of quiet rivers that giggled in their sleep, of owls that read poetry to each other, and of fireflies that practiced tiny dances before bedtime. Moreau listened, and glowed a little warmer. Next, Moreau floated to the edge of the ocean, where the waves were like deep breaths, in and out, in and out. There, on a floating lily pad, lived a turtle named Tully, who only had one dream every night, but it was always the most peaceful dream of all. "My dream," Tully said, "is of floating in warm water while the stars comb my shell with moonlight." Moreau glowed again, this time with a soft smile. "That sounds like a dream I'd like to have too." So, Tully taught Moreau how to slow his thoughts, how to breathe like waves, and how to let the calm wrap around him like a cozy night cloud. In a quiet cave high in the clouds, Moreau met a dragon named Dandelion. She had feathers instead of scales and wings that rustled like bedtime pages. Dandelion didn't breathe fire. She breathed warm milk steam. And when she yawned, it made everyone feel sleepy, even Moreau. I used to roar, Dandelion said, but now I just tell stories to the wind. Would you like one? So she told Moreau the story of the wind who got tired, and how it curled up beside a star to nap forever. By the end of the tale, Moreau's moon eyes were drooping. The stars, who had been waiting quietly above, now twinkled again. Come back, little moon. The night needs you. So Moreau rose slowly, waving goodbye to Dandelion, Tully, and Phelia, who were already slipping into their own dreams. He floated higher and higher, back to his place in the sky, a little wiser, a little calmer, and with a heart full of soft stories. That night, as children slept beneath him, Moreau didn't feel restless anymore. He whispered to the stars, "Every dream starts with a quiet heart." And he glowed until morning, not the brightest, not the biggest, but the softest moon the night had ever known.